What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video at hand, and today I want to give you guys an interesting look and perspective at an app called Game Insider. Now, the main engineer and developer was very kind enough to reach out to me and politely request that I do a review of the app. So with this video right here, I'm going to show you guys some of the pros, the cons, and everything else in between about the app called GameSider. Now keep in mind, this review is only going to be used on iOS, on my iPhone. I do not have an Android device, so I can't discuss if the app is available or not available on the Android itself. So of course, when sharing this app review with you guys right here, I'm going to do my very best to give you guys a very non-biased review. I'm pretty much going to tell you guys just exactly how I feel, how, if I were to actually use the app myself, how I would think about it and how I would use it and all that wonderful stuff. So without further ado, let's dive right into this review and take a look at this app and find out, is this an app that you guys should check out or pass by? Right after the intro. Alright, so I think I'm going to start off this review by discussing with you guys that the fact that this right now is a free app. It does not cost you anything to use the app, download the app. Everything right now about this app, if you decide to download it, is free. Obviously, the first thing that I noticed when downloading and using this app is the fact that it has a very basic design. Being quite frank, if I were to go through the App Store and if I were to see this app, realistically, based on the logo, I would personally not download it. However, if you guys haven't heard this saying before, I'm definitely going to be using it in this video, and that is the fact that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. While I will admit, when looking at the logo for the app itself and also looking at the very basic design and the home screen, it definitely isn't entirely pleasing to the eye. Not that it's necessarily ugly to look at, it's just not very captivating to the eye. So I think what would help with this app with its success is for the app to hopefully come up with a better looking logo that will try to entice the potential user to download the app and of course use the app as well. But of course, the app's purpose is not to look fancy, but to actually scan games and to basically tell you the information provided, which is clearly the most important aspect about this app. Now, of course, when you do decide to scan games, you are greeted with two different options. You can either take a photo with your iPhone's camera, or you can choose a photo out of your photo library. For this review, I decided to take photos of actual games that I have in my game room. Now, the first game that I decided to scan was New Super Mario Bros. Wii for the Nintendo Wii. When I decided to scan this game, it took a little bit for the app to basically take its time trying to figure out what game it is and all that wonderful stuff. After everything was all said and done, it gave me prices of the loose copy of the game, the complete in box, and of course a new price. Essentially how these prices come together if you go to the About section in GameSider is that it essentially tells you that it is taking an average and taking prices from price charting and sold listings on eBay, and essentially it's being put together to give you the price that you're seeing when you scan a game through the app. I also wanted to test the app a little further, and I decided to do was scan the same game, but only this time I decided to take the disc out, because if you are somebody that is either a collector that just has a disc only copy of a game, or if you're somebody that's going out to a garage sale and you just happen to find a disc-only copy of the game, I think this would be very important to test out. I was very surprised and pleasantly so to find out that the app does indeed work if you have a loose copy of the game. However, one thing that really caught my attention when I decided to scan my game as a disc-only copy is I couldn't help but notice that it also showed me pricing for Xbox 360 20GB consoles, which I thought was very random and kind of confusing. While this is definitely a flaw that's not going to make or break the app, I do think it is something that should be addressed with the app's future moving ahead. I also wanted to test things even more with the app. So I also scanned my copy of Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition for the original Xbox. Again, did not really have any issues with that. I also wanted to push it even further. I reviewed another app recently called Flipper, and one of the major things about that Flipper app was the fact that you could scan multiple games and get prices for games within one photo. So I definitely wanted to test GameSider to see if it would do just that. So I got my copies of Counter-Strike and Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex, put them together, and it was successful in showing that it was able to scan both of those games just fine in the exact same photo. I wanted to go even further with the app. So this time what I decided to do was literally just scan a bunch of games on my shelf and just see how the app performs. This time, the results weren't as accurate. While it certainly got a bunch of games correct that were on my shelf, I had to do a double take and look that I saw that it mentioned that one of the games that I scanned was The Warriors. Now, this part of my shelf did not have the game The Warriors in that picture. Now, I do have the game itself, but not on that exact section of the shelf. So unfortunately, there was a bit of an inaccuracy right there when it came to scanning the app. Since I already scanned a loose copy of a game, I also wanted to scan a loose copy of Killer Instinct that I have for the Super Nintendo. Now, I wanted to personally move the game into a section of the game room where there wasn't a lot going on into the background. So after scanning that, I was also able to do another successful scan with Killer Instinct. Overall, I do think the app does a great job in detecting at what games that you have in your collection. However, there were a few minor discrepancies that I did show you guys and discuss with you earlier, but I don't consider those flaws to be any major issues. I do think they are flaws that should be worked on, but I do have to say, if somebody were to ask me, hey, is this going to be a big problem when using GameSider? My answer would be no. I think it's clearly something that may show up from time to time, but overall, it's something I personally wouldn't worry about. Now, I think with an app such as GameSider, you can certainly make the argument that this is an app that's mostly targeted towards resellers. However, if you're one of those collectors that is buying games at yard sales, estate sales, thrift stores, all that wonderful stuff, and your strategy is to buy games that you're not interested in, whether it's just a condition that you just don't like, or it's a game that you just for whatever reason aren't interested in, or it's a duplicate and you want to sell it online so that way you can use your profits to buy more games into your collection. If you're one of those collectors, I think that is when an app such as GameSider can help you. Also, you can check as well to see exactly how much your collection is worth without having to go over to your computer, typing everything out. You just get the price right there, and then you're good to go. I also like with GameSider is that there's no limit to how many games you could scan in a day. If you want to scan 100, go for it. If you want to scan only 2, go for it. There is literally no limit to how many scans you do with GameSider. Now, I have spoken with the main engineer and developer of the app, and he did say that there is going to be an eventual paywall where it will allow for extra features. And I'm certainly not against that. However, I do think a very strong recommendation that I have when it comes to GameSider is the fact that there should be some basic features that are always going to be there for free. However, if somebody wants to pay that extra $5 a month for that paywall, awesome, let them get extra features. But I do think at the very, very, very core basis, there should be some basic features that are readily available for free without any limitations. Also, I think with this app as well, if it can just get some of those bugs that worked out, as I mentioned from before, and also make it more captivating to the eye where it will make somebody want to download it. I think if those things are set in place and taken care of, I think this app can certainly have a great advantage in the future. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.